everyone, and thank you for joining the show. I am tickled pink today because in all the years I have been doing this, this is the first time I have a clown on the show. And, uh, I know a lot of people are afraid of clowns. Not me. I was one of the lucky ones that enjoyed clowns growing up. But this is not just an ordinary clown. This is Bullseye the Clown. And Bullseye is an award-winning humanitarian. He travels the world, believe it or not, Nobel Peace Prize nominee Patch Adams. When I read that, I was thinking, holy moly, this is
Oh,
somebody. And he's coming on our show. And it is, yeah, the Patch Adams. He's also the founder and lead clown. Founder and lead clown missionary at Clowns on a Mission, a humanitarian initiative to spread love, offer peace, inspire hope, and bring visibility to those who feel forgotten and bullied. And Bullseye, to say that bullying is a problem is an understatement. It's a huge problem.
right.
But let's find out about Bullseye and how in the world did you've been doing this for a long time, but how did Bullseye come about?
Well, believe it or not, Bullseye actually is very, very young. It all actually came about, I was bullied as a kid, and that was just something I just kind of kept with me. I navigated my own bullies. I never really told anybody, but so that's just something that's always been with me. And my father passed away in 2018. And so when my father passed away, I decided that I wanted to do something to honor him. And so I remembered seeing the movie Patch Adams many years ago. And I remember finding out that Patch Adams was actually a real person after watching the movie. And so I went to his website and I noticed that he was doing a humanitarian clown tour to Russia. And so I decided to sign up for this humanitarian clown tour. I had no idea how to be a clown. I was never a clown before. I did do stand-up comedy. So I did stand-up comedy for 10 years. So I figured, well, how much harder can it be to be a clown than a comedian? So, um, so before I knew it, I was on a plane to Russia. We went to Moscow for 7 days and St. Petersburg for 7 days. And this was like a crash course in clowning. I mean, we were a clown 24/7. We had to be dressed up in our clown costume from the time we left home. So we went to the airport dressed as a clown and took our little clown shoes down the conveyor belt and 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 I really never thought I would clown again after that. I just thought, oh, this was just like a one-off thing. But then I just saw the impact that clowning had on all of the people that we dealt with when we were in Russia. I mean, we were going to orphanages and hospitals and hospices, and we were clowning out on the street. And it was just seeing that how our presence affected people in a positive way. And so when I came home from this particular tour, I thought, I've got to find a way to continue to do that. Um, One of the things in particular that happened, and this is just like a small thing, we chartered a bus. So everywhere we went into a bus. So there was 35 clowns on a bus going from location to location. And, a very simple thing. We were stopped at a stoplight and I just happened to be looking out the window and there was a woman holding a bag of groceries out there. And I just pecked on the window and she kind of looked up and I can't imagine what she thought when she saw like a bus full of clowns. But so I just started to wave at her and she just kind of like waved and I started waving a little bit more excited and she waved a little bit more excited. And then every clown on the bus saw what I was doing. And so they all turned and they all waved at the woman standing at the bus station. And then the bus started to pull away because the light turned. And as the bus pulled away, I saw the woman sit down on the park bench and she started to cry. Why she was crying, I don't know. I guess in my head, I thought maybe, that might be the first time that day or that month that somebody actually saw her and communicated with her. So I just started seeing things like this happening on our tour. Just a simple interaction like that can actually change somebody's life. And so that's why, and that's how Bullseye the Clown was born.
That's a great story. And, we never know what anyone is going through at the time that we contact this person. We just never know what's going on behind the scenes in their life. And I believe that bus full of clowns waving and just being happy. You talk a lot about being happy, and it's getting harder and harder in today's world uh, to be happy because of
Mhm.
all the events going on, whether it's your local, where you live, or in your state, or in the country, or in the world. And thank you for doing that. That is so cool. Um, you mentioned about experiencing being bullied when you were younger and didn't tell anybody. When I was in the seventh grade, my parents got divorced, and two of the kids, we have four of us, but two of us went with dad, who moved to Oahu, and the other two stayed with mom, who was here on Kauai. But when I got to Oahu, uh, I experienced bullying, and it was foreign because obviously we live on a small island here. It's an island community, and I never experienced that, but it was traumatic. And like you, I never told anyone. And I look back now in my old age, and I'm thinking, why didn't I tell anyone? And a
Well,
lot of
for
people
me, I think,
experience it.
but for me, I think, one of the reasons I didn't tell anybody, you know, I didn't want my mom or my dad to think that I wasn't popular, and so that maybe, like, somehow it would, you know, reflect negatively on them if, if their kid was the one being bullied and nobody liked them. So, I think that's one of the main reasons that I chose not to tell anyone. I just didn't want anybody to know. Um, and back then, I guess it was just kind of the way teachers accepted it was just kind of like, oh, that's just a phase so and so it's going through. They'll grow up and that they'll be different. But it wasn't. I mean, back whenever I was growing up, we didn't have the internet like we do today. And so we didn't have cyberbullying when I was growing up. The bullies would just make house calls. They just show up on your front lawn, you know.
You have obviously traveled the world, uh, and obviously in our country. uh, are you still seeing this bullying as being a major problem? I mean, it is even here in this paradise we call Hawaii. Bullying is still a major problem. Is that what you're seeing across the country?
Absolutely. I think it's getting worse and worse. And I think that, you know, again, it's because nobody wants to take responsibility for it. I mean, at school, I think, teachers and administration bear some of the responsibility in helping to protect kids, but I just kind of learned how to navigate them on my own. So when a bully came up to, push me into a locker or, I would either one, I would, change my where I was going. So if I was always getting bullied at the same place at the same time, then I would stop going to that same place at the same time. I would go a different direction or, um, and then I guess I was a clown way before I became a clown. Uh, a lot of times the bully would come up to me to bully me and I would create some kind of a scene. I would scream fire or I would like lay on the ground and play dead or I would scream. I would make some kind of a commotion and then that would cause the teacher to come out and go, what is the matter with you? So, but by that point, then the bully would run away and, I was the only one left there. So she thought that I was the nut. And, but, but I just kind of navigated it my own way, you know? And people say, well, how do you know that that was successful? I said, well, I'm still here and I haven't killed anybody. So there's something must be right.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I navigated the same way you did. I avoided them, and I had even special permissions, as you talked about how it was accepted as a phase. I
Mhm.
was I was given special permissions by teachers to stay in my classroom until the second bell, and then I could go to my next class. And that's how they handled it back then. I mean, it's a long
Yeah.
time ago.
Mhm.
They handled it by basically accommodating the bullying and
Right.
making it safe. And they
Mhm.
justified it because, yeah, but it was a horrible way to live. And it was, I think a lot of us who were bullied lost a good piece or part of growing up the right way and enjoying going to school. I hated going to school
I
for
did
that
too. And,
reason.
and I really thought that I would be like, this famous actor or comedian by this point in my I mean, I'm like, in my 50s. I know it's hard to believe. Makeup hides a lot of wrinkles. But no, I really feel and that's the reason I decided to start talking about bullying because I think that as I got older, I realized I didn't try some of the opportunities that came my way because I was bullied. I feel like, oh, well, I don't feel good about myself. Oh, I'm never going to amount to anything. I shouldn't audition for that part, or I shouldn't do this particular thing, or I'd really like to go here, but maybe a bully will be there, so I'm not going to go. And so I really feel like I didn't live up to what I had envisioned my life to be. Um, And so that's why when I originally started to talk about bullying, it was really to talk to people who were my age, who never really kind of got over the hump, so to speak. Because I mean, there are some people who are bullied and they become huge superstars, like, Lady Gaga or Susan Boyle or somebody like that. But then you have millions of people who are bullied and they have these dreams and aspirations, but they're working at the McDonald's and Walmart because they don't try, because they're afraid of what people are going to say.
It was the programming, right? The programming
Mhm.
from our
Mhm.
youth that
Absolutely.
kind of becomes a way of life, and it's so unfortunate how many dreams have not been fulfilled because of that. Unfortunate.
Right.
Um, you talk about survival tips. You wrote a book, and for those of you
Mhm.
listening, I will have a link to Bullseye's book in the show notes and in the description. But you talk about, by the way, the book is called Bullseye on Bullying: Your Blueprint to Beating the Bullies. But in that book, you talk about survival tips. What are some of the basic? I know you mentioned a few: jumping up, screaming, fire, fire,
Mhm.
fire. That's I like that shit. I wish I had done that. Uh,
Yeah. But of course, I'm always the one that got in trouble. What are you trying to pull here?
yeah, but it saved you, right? In your mind, it was better than being bullied. And
Right.
but what are some survival tips for our listeners?
Well, definitely, you don't want to become a bully by trying to defeat a bully. So, you know, it's never a good idea to call a bully name or to really get into a fist fight with the bully. But at the same time, make the bully aware that, you want the bullying to stop, Um, I would make sure, that I drew attention to it. And every time I drew attention to it, it would get the bullies to run a different direction. One of the things that every single book tells you, is to tell someone. And as I mentioned earlier, I didn't tell anyone that I was being bullied. But I also don't want to give the wrong impression by, if you tell someone, that does not mean that the bullying is going to stop. A lot of times when you tell someone, that just feeds into the bully and makes the bully even more angry. So, um, if you're going to tell somebody, make sure you tell somebody who can do something about it and make sure they do something about it. Because otherwise, just telling isn't going to make the bullying stop. Try to stay calm. You know, um, I tend to be a little overexcitable, so I wasn't always calm when I was being bullied. But like I said, I would create a scene. Um, but now we have like an amazing thing. We have this a wonderful little thing that everybody carries around, our little cell phone. If you can get the bullying on videotape, if you can get somebody to record it or even audio record it, you know, have some kind of proof. Um, you know, it's almost like we have our own little body cams with us every single day when we're walking around. So, and I know kids are always on TikTok and they're always on, YouTube and Instagram and all that stuff. So, um, if you can, turn your phone on while this is happening and just have it in your hands, just so that you're getting some kind of proof that all this stuff is happening so that you can actually show that to your principal or your parents or the police or um, whoever happens to be in a position to help you.
What what causes someone to be a bully? What are some of the things that I mean, we've read about it, but in you, I consider you a subject matter expert because you have been speaking with many people and you've been
Mhm.
talking about this. But what creates a bully? What causes someone to say, "I'm going to be a bully"?
I don't think somebody goes around and actually decides that they're going to be a bully, but I do think that bullying is a learned behavior. Um, I I would hazard to say that probably 99% of bullies probably are experiencing some type of bullying at home. And so it's a learned behavior. Their parents are bullying them. Um, and there's a difference between discipline and bullying too. So that's something that I talk about in the book as well is, you can make someone mind and not be a bully about it. But so I think a lot of kids are mistreated at home. And so in order for them to feel invigorated, I guess, or they feel like somebody's torturing me. So in turn, I need to torture somebody else. It's kind of that mentality. I actually received an email as I was working on my book. was from a kid who bullied me in school. And so I was kind of asking him, and opened up a conversation, why did you bully me in school? And he was biracial. And so he was like, you know what? I bullied you so that the bullies wouldn't bully me. So it was kind of like a little initiation kind of thing. So, I knew if I was kind of joining their club, that their club wouldn't attack me kind of thing. So I think it's twofold. I think that it's a learned behavior. And for some bullies, it might be a survival mechanism as well, kind of like, we'll beat you up if you don't join our gang kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's probably a common thing, being part of the gang. Growing up
Mhm.
now with social media, cyberbullying, as you mentioned earlier, is making it even a bigger problem. And we see the stories on the TV news or locally where you live. I was a police officer for many years, and
Oh, well.
yeah, and worked with the prosecutor's office as an investigator, and we come across many cyberbullying cases. And as much as I've seen in my life, some of these things that are coming across social media or in text messages or messenger is quite fearful. And it's amazing how bad it has become. And you talk about the phone as being a possible tool,
Mhm.
but it is also part of the problem. And
Yeah.
we are not going to stop our kids from having phones. I think it's, as a parent myself, my kids had phones because it was for security, and wanted to make sure we could get in touch with them and they can get in touch with us. So I think what you are doing, going around the country and sharing stories, I think it does help a lot. How do we get more people involved? And how do we really expand the knowledge and the focus to the general public without, we see a lot of copycat actions,
Well,
right? Whenever
mhm.
but so what is the best way for us as parents or as leaders in the community to keep this on the forefront?
Well, I think as far as cyberbullying goes, there are certain applications that I avoid. Um, I hated to say it, Elon Musk, but Twitter is one. That is one platform that I avoid. I just find the bullying and the negative comments on Twitter to be astronomical. So um, I had a Twitter account and I deleted it. This was a long before Elon came along, but I just found that that was a platform that didn't really serve my purposes. So I mean, I like places like Facebook is a great social media tool, I think. And what's really nice about Facebook is when somebody friend requests you, you can you know click, whether you want to be a friend or whether you don't. And the first thing I do is anytime I get a friend request, I mean, I probably should have, 5 or 6,000 friends by now on Facebook. I have maybe 1,000. And that's because the first thing I do is when they want to be my friend, I'll go to their page and I'll scroll down probably oh, 5 or 6 pages worth of stuff. And I will see what kind of stuff they're posting. And if I don't like the stuff that they're posting, or I find their stuff to be mean and hateful, then I click delete. I do not accept everybody. I think we have this kind of idea that we should be friends with everybody. And yes, I would like to be friends with everybody, but you know, but there are just some people that I'm never going to be friends with, and that's okay. They'll have their friends, and I'll have mine. And I just you were talking earlier about I seem to be happy, and I've just chosen as I get older and older, to eliminate anything that doesn't serve my purpose and doesn't make me happy. So if something's really frustrating me, I get rid of it. So that's why I got rid of Twitter. Um, and I would like to see more policing, I guess is a phrase, um, of social media. A lot of these most social media people like Elon and the people, Mark Zuckerberg, who owns Facebook, and um, sometimes I think that they don't police the right things. So, I mean, it would really be nice to see them really get to the heart of the matter and really watch what's being posted. And, I'm sure that there's an algorithm where they can say anybody who posts this particular word, would be a red flag or something like that. So, um, but I would like to see more stringent rules, I guess, for social media when it comes to that, because I do think social media it can be good, but it also can be very, very harmful.
Agree. Well, Facebook does a pretty good job, and it gives you
Yeah.
an opportunity to report a post,
Mhm.
to block people, and I do a lot of those, as you can imagine. So yeah, I agree with you. There needs to be. I mean, there's a line between freedom of speech and
Absolutely. Mhm.
hurtful speech, and I think that is where we get confused sometimes. Some people actually believe they can say whatever they want regardless of
Yeah.
who they hurt. And that's not true. That's not what the Constitution says.
Right.
And there's a fine line between harassment, bullying, and your freedom of speech. You are an excitable guy. Um, what is the one thing that fires you up the most? Uh, I love what you say about keeping the negative things away, but what's the one thing that really, really fires you up?
The one thing that fires me up the most is injustice. Um, so when something happens, I'm one of those people, like when I watch a movie and something happens in a movie, and if it doesn't end the way I think that it should end, the villain doesn't get justice, that just fires me up. So I see that happening all the time just in life. Um, you know, people who should be held accountable aren't held accountable, and everybody wants to pass the buck. And so that just kind of frustrates me. So that's one of the things that really really fires me up the most is when injustice happens. And another thing is invisibility. It's funny. I as a kid and even through my young adult life, I could walk into a restaurant and I don't know, I must just be invisible. People just would not wait on me or not see me sitting somewhere. And I mean, which was ironic because at that time I weighed like 300 pounds. So, I mean, everybody should be able to see me. But, when we go into the hospitals and we go into the orphanages, I go into the rooms that nobody else will go into. And that's what Patch Adams does. Patch Adams says, take me to the person with the most pain and the most, you know, the least amount of visitors, take me there. That's who I want to talk to. And so I just feel like nobody should go through life feeling like they're invisible and that nobody cares and loves them. So those are two of the things that kind of fire me up. And that's why I continued to clown when I got back from Russia, is because I know that there are a lot of people who do feel invisible. And I think that's why a lot of people post on social media so that they can get that visibility that they're craving, even though it might not be the one-on-one um, interactions that would really help them the most, as opposed to am I cute or am I not cute? Kind of thing on Facebook.
Yeah, well, we see that, every single day of our lives, and the injustice you talked about, and because of social media, it's
Mhm.
becoming more open. It's now we're seeing injustices where we're quite limited to what was happening in your local area. Now we are seeing the injustices that are happening across the globe.
Mhm.
And it bothers me as well. Again, as a former law enforcement officer and working with the prosecutor's office for many years, I see the injustices and I see the attempts by some good people to try to find justice. But there's so many problems in the judicial system and just in our political system that kind of minimizes the injustices that are happening, and that is really, really hard to watch. Really, really hard to watch.
Well, that's why I think it's really important to speak up. I mean, a lot of times I really feel in some ways, whenever I was younger and I was being bullied and I wasn't saying anything, um, I think that kind of eggs the bully on. The more you don't say anything, the more you're kind of condoning their actions. You're saying that it's okay to bully you because I'm not standing up for myself and I'm not saying anything. Um, and so that's something that's really, really important, is to also stand up for yourself. And you can stand up for yourself without, knocking the daylights out of somebody. But, sometimes, it happens that you have to knock the daylights out of somebody. I remember reading a thing about Jackie Chan, and Jackie Chan said he used to be um, bullied in school. And when a friend was bullied, that's when he took action and he beat someone up. And from that moment on, it kind of empowered him to no longer be bullied. So, um, and I think, one of the things I talk about in the book is also why people are tend to be targets for bullying, for the most part, I mean, I was kind of quiet. So, if you're always kind of walking, your head is down and you're not really paying attention to where you're going, I think body language has a lot to do with, how we're perceived by others. And so I think that, even if you are a quiet person, just walk with your head up, be aware of what's happening around you so that if somebody's coming after you, you can see it and, um, you can deal with it at that time as opposed to, being the, being on your phone, looking down at your phone or, with your head in a book or, but just be aware of what's happening around you.
Good advice. The book again, Bullseye on Bullying: Your Blueprint to Beating the Bullies. Check out the link in the description and order your copy. I had hoped to get a copy before today's interview, and unfortunately, Amazon is usually so quick. But I guess the holiday season is
Uh,
just.
well, it's on Kindle too. You could have got a Kindle version.
Oh, you see, that
See?
I like the book. I like
Yeah.
books.
My sister's
But
the same way. She doesn't, we bought her a Kindle and for Christmas one year, she's like, no, take that back. I like the book. I like to feel it in my hand and turn the pages and
um, you're a happy person. You're a real
I try to be.
happy. Yeah, and I think one of the reasons why you focus on the happy things in life. Uh, how can people be happy? What are your advice? What's your advice to people living in today's world with today's craziness? How do we find happiness and even more importantly, spread that we call it here aloha in Hawaii. How
Aloha.
do you spread the aloha, the happiness, the love? How can we as normal people, not clowns, regular people, how do we do that? And how can we
Honestly,
be happy when we're not happy?
that's that's a good question. So for me, I think that you have to do nice things for other people. When I went to, on my first clown tour, not having ever been a clown before, I really, I was going with a lot of hurt. My dad had just passed away. I never really reconciled all these feelings from being bullied whenever I was bullied as a kid. And I was bullied as, in college and different places. And so I kind of had a lot of attitude and, a lot of hurt and all that kind of stuff. But what ended up happening was, our job for 14 straight days is everybody you see, you need to make them happy. You need to make them smile. And, which was actually kind of difficult because, as I mentioned, we were in Russia. I'm American. I don't speak Russian. And a lot of them didn't speak English. So we didn't even have like a language that we could really talk to. So it was really all through physicality. So, I mean, I was focused on just doing good things for 14 straight days. And when I came back from Russia and just kind of sat down and kind of decompressed from the entire experience, I realized I no longer had that hurt. I didn't have that anger that I had for the bullies. I didn't have that grief for my father passing away because I was so focused on being happy for 14 straight days. And you can't be happy and sad at the same time, or you can't be happy and mad at the same time. So um, I think just getting into a practice where you're doing things for other people, nice things for other people, regardless of what you're getting back. I mean, as a clown, I don't know if, people are enjoying what I do, but I'm not expecting anything from them. I'm just giving them a balloon or I'm, you know, giving them a sticker or I'm spending some time with them for whatever length of time I have there. And and I continue to do just nice things for other people. And I think that in turn will make you a happier person.
And it didn't cost you a penny.
It doesn't cost you a penny. I mean, it's what really frustrates me is when I see people kind of give dirty looks to homeless people.
Yeah.
All they really want, I mean, just say hello. Hello, they have a name, hi, my name is Bullseye The Clown, what's yours? That kind of thing. But it's like, no, hold the door open for somebody when you go into a store or a gas station. Um, it doesn't cost you anything. Yeah, the homeless person might be asking you for money, but I mean, I think they'd be just as happy if you actually just, called them by name or just, treated them like they were actually a real person, and not just, something that you try to avoid seeing.
Random acts of kindness,
Absolutely. And I think that week is coming up. I think sometime in February, there's like a random acts of kindness week. I'm wanting to say like around the 13th or so.
Oh, good to know. Good to know. I interviewed Dominique Brightman for our show, and he said call 5 people.
Mhm.
He said, I asked him the same question. What do you do, he said, just call 5 people. Don't text them. Don't message them. Call them and just tell them that you were thinking about them. You want to say hello. Just
Yeah.
every day. I mean, he does this every day. And that little act of kindness can really change someone's day. It really can. It really can. Which leads me to my next question about, aside from the random acts of kindness, how can we all be a part of making this a better world? And there are many opportunities. And I know people are busy with life and jobs and obligations, but if everyone participated, uh, how can we make this a better place? And maybe even put on a clown outfit might drive.
Well, it's funny, Patch Adams always says, you know, whatever I said, I've never clowned before. I don't know what to do. He said, just grab a pair of underwear and wear it on your head for a week everywhere you go. He said, the looks that you'll get from people and the conversations that it will strike up. Uh, but, I think really part of being present, you know, ungluing from social media, ungluing from your phone. I mean, you walk onto a bus. I mean, there's quite a few characters on a public transportation. So if you're on public transportation, there's quite a few interesting characters. Unglue from your phone and just lean across somebody and say hi to somebody. It doesn't cost you anything to say hi. And if they give you a dirty look, well, at least you have made the attempt. But I think that everybody gets so focused, or I guess maybe I should say unfocused. They're just so worried about, um, you know, phones and games and social media that they kind of lose contact. People don't have one-on-one contact with anyone anymore. So, yeah, really try to develop deeper personal relationships with people. I mean, that's not to say that you're going to, invite them over and you're going to, make them part of your family. But, you know, when you're sitting on an airplane, I'll be flying to Mexico City with some clowns, and yeah, that's coming up. But I'll be on the plane for like 3 hours. So if I'm sitting by somebody, and they're awake, strike up a conversation. Of course, when you're dressed like this, it kind of it kind of begs for conversation. So
Have you had any negative experiences when you're dressed up as a clown? And
not really. No, not really. I mean, I have had a couple of people who said they were scared, and they kind of, I said, okay, well then just don't look at me. um, And that was one of the things when I first became a clown. I guess I never thought about it. I never thought that, oh, some people might be afraid of clowns. That didn't enter into my consciousness, I guess, because I hadn't been a clown for very long at that time. Um, but I know there are people who don't. No, it was really interesting when we just got back from Morocco not too long ago with Patch Adams, and we went into an orphanage. And a lot of the kids who were in this orphanage, they were really, really young. So they were like maybe 2, 3, 4 years old. And so the only people that they had seen during the whole pandemic were their teachers or the people who were taking care of them. And so when the clowns first went in, they were kind of petrified, like, what on earth is happening? All these people with red noses are popping in. So we kind of had to do a little bit of damage control there. That was probably the first time I really saw it happen. So a lot of the kids were scared. But then once we were there and we were handing out stuff and we were playing with them, that kind of calmed their fears. But so I suppose it's like anything. People get afraid of what they don't understand, I guess.
how is Patch Adams? You're the closest connection I have ever had to a Nobel Peace Prize winner, a nominee. How is Patch, and is he still going around? And
Oh, he is. Yeah, like I said, we went to Morocco in October, at the end of October, 1st of November, and then I'm actually going to go out with Patch again with about 25 clowns or so. In March, we're going to go to Mexico City. Um, Patch is definitely a unique character. But no, he's 77, and during COVID, he actually had one of his legs amputated. So, um, but he learned to walk on his prosthetic. He was great in Morocco. Didn't seem to have any issues with the leg. Um, he's quite the character. He definitely. I even asked him. I write for a clown magazine, and I just did a whole front page spread in the magazine on Patch Adams and the Morocco trip. And I had an interview with Patch, and when we talk about the movie, I said, did the movie accurately describe you? And he said, no, the movie was really, really watered down. So, Pat, whatever you think about that movie, if you watch that movie, just picture Patch being 10 times worse than that. So, so he's quite the character.
What an amazing human being, though. I mean, to dedicate your life to just spreading goodness and happiness, and those types of people are special. And I think you're in that category now.
I'm working my way up. I'm working my way into becoming a new Patch Adams whenever he sails off into the sunset.
Well, I consider myself a good character of a judge of character, I should say. And what the audience doesn't know is that we had some technical issues and prior to the show, and you handled it so well. It's like you are a good person, just a good person, and I appreciate you for being that way.
Well, I had known you just had to push B for video, and that would have avoided 20 minutes of hassle.
Yeah, well, I'm reading your bio and I'm like, I can't get mad. This is a happy guy. He's a clown. I cannot get mad. So what's the future for Bullseye the Clown? I'm assuming this is like a full-time gig for you. This is what you do, but what are you? I know you said you're aspiring to be the next Patch Adams, but what's your?
Well, I'm working to get my charity off the ground. So as you mentioned earlier, um, I'm starting a charity called Clowns on a Mission, where not only do we go into kind of doing what Patch Adams is, going to the humanitarian clown tours, but just also things that we can do closer to home, whether it's we visit people like children's hospitals here. One of the things that I have been kind of drawn to also is, especially I live in Arizona. And so here we have a lot of children who are in school who can't afford lunches. So I would love like for our charity to just randomly go into schools and pay for all the kids' overdue lunch bills, so that they could continue to have lunch while they're at school. So that's kind of what I'm going to be working on, is getting the charity up and running, doing more clowning tours, doing more bullying seminars. Like I said, I work a lot with seniors in like senior homes, senior living and dementia wards, things like that. So I continue to do all of that. So that's kind of where my focus is and what I plan to be doing in the future.
I am hoping that there is a clown tour scheduled for Hawaii, and I
Well,
want to.
I would love to go to that's on my bucket list. That's one place I've always wanted to go, is Hawaii. So if I can, maybe I'll have to talk to you. We'll have to organize some kind of a little clown tour to Hawaii, because I would love to go to Hawaii.
I think we share the same passion. Kids, kids in hospitals, and I would definitely like to be to help you make that happen. That would be so cool. We do have a resident clown here on our island. It's a female clown, and
Oh, good.
she's everywhere, and she's so good. And
What's her name?
what the heck? It's Happy the Clown.
Happy
She's
the
called,
Clown?
yeah, Happy the Clown, and I think you can even Google her. But she's an amazing woman. She's been doing it for a long time, and it's just you cannot help but bring smiles to people as a clown. It's just an amazing thing. Amazing thing. Bullseye on bullying, your blueprint to beating the bullies, folks. Make sure you check out that link in the notes and order your copy. Bullseye, I could probably talk to you all day long. Any closing thoughts for our listeners out there? And the floor is yours, my friend.
No, my closing thought would basically be just be the best person you can be. Um, and in order to bring happiness to your life, you have to first spread happiness. So that would be my challenge to you, is to just go out today and do something nice for someone else without any kind of expectation of something in return. So just go out and do nice things for other people, and nice things will begin to happen to you.
Bullseye, I thank you. In Hawaii, we say mahalo. That means thank you.
Mahalo,
Aloha, which means, yeah, mahalo.
mahalo.
Mahalo. Mahalo. And the other one that I'm trying to spread across the country through this podcast is Ahui Ho.
Ahoy ho.
Ahui Ho, which,
Ahoy ho.
correct. You said it perfectly. And all
Okay.
that means is until we meet again, as opposed to good. I don't like goodbyes.
That's
Hate
good. That's
goodbyes. Ahui Ho
ahoy
means
ho.
until we meet again. Bullseye, let's stay in touch. I'd love to see you and help you on your journey going forward. Really appreciate our listeners again. Check out Bullseye on Bullying, a great book by Bullseye, and you can find the link in the description. And until next time, folks, ahui ho. You guys all take care. God bless. We love you
Wow.
guys. Stay safe. Goodbye.